Yo everybody, what's going on? It is Jacob, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make your very own graph paper art drawings. Now, it's pretty self-explanatory, but since I made a video many years ago, almost 6 years ago, of all of the graph paper art drawings I made back in middle school, I have the folder right here with me. As you can see, it is filled with a lot of graph paper art drawings. I'll link the video down in the description below if you want to go watch it. But I'm going to be showing you guys my methodology and my process of how I make graph paper art drawings. Now, it's been a long time since I've made them, but I still know how to do it. I made a lot of them, so it's like muscle memory now. Alright, so here I have a printed picture of a pixel link. This is what I'm going to be drawing for you guys today to show you how I do it. So, let's get started. Alright guys, so first thing that I'm gonna say for drawing graph art is it's a very good investment, and it's not even really much of an investment to go and buy one of these just notebooks that are full of just grid-lined graph paper. The benefit to this is, one, you don't have to go through the process of overlapping 2 sheets of lined paper, and the other one is that the paper is slightly thicker than regular lined paper. It's more on the lines of printer paper, maybe even a little bit thicker. That is definitely the first benefit to using this, and plus the lines are there and it just keeps things a lot neater, and the boxes are smaller so you can fit more on a single sheet of paper. Alright, next, so what you're going to want to do is it's very useful to print out a copy of what you're going to be drawing. You don't have to necessarily print it out. If you have a laptop, you can pull it up on your laptop. Sometimes that works better because you can zoom in a lot more. For our purposes here, we are using a printed out copy of this. So next, what you're going to want is a bunch of colored pencils, as many as you can get in as many different colors you can get. It's going to help a lot if you do not have to shade your colors. So let's get right into the drawing portion of this. What we're going to want is we're going to start out with a black right here. So it doesn't necessarily have to be black. It's basically whatever color the outside of the pixel art is going to be lined in. Almost every single pixel art is going to have some sort of outline to it. At least that is my experience. And if it doesn't have an outline, just always try to pick the darkest color that goes around the border of the drawing, even if it's not dark. The purpose of this is so that you can make the general shape of the drawing, so you can just basically fill in the lines. So you're kind of making it a little drawing book for yourself. In order to achieve this is I use what I kind of call the dot method. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the grid paper, and I've already counted how far over I need to be. I've made sure I've counted across on the drawing, on the printed image here, to make sure that it fits across the page, and I have also counted how far over I want to start from the bottom so that I can draw my drawing going up. So I know I need to go 13 spaces over, so we're going to skip this last one here because it's kind of cut off on this edge. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So this is our first mark. That is that point right there on the drawing, the bottom of his foot. What this enables us to do is it puts us in a spot that we know that we can fit on the entire page, and we can just work from there. What we do is, so we're going to finish the foot here. Basically, you go around the whole drawing, just drawing little dots in the squares that you want to put them in. You don't want to spend the time drawing this in case you mess up. If you do mess up, it is okay. Sometimes it is a repairable fix, and you can just skip a row. There's various things you can do depending on the situation. So I'm gonna finish filling in these dots, and then we'll see how it looks at the end. Alright guys, so as you can see here, we have made a tiny outline of our drawing. We have just used tiny black dots to go and outline it. So now what you want to do, now that you are we've connected the dots, we know that our shape is correct. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go and shade in each of those tiny squares. So now some people like to go square by square, so they'll, you know, kind of outline one square and then they'll, you know, color it in, right? What I would say is I would not go square by square. I would, if you have a segment of say 5 in a row, right, like right here, what I would say to do is go and kind of make a little outline as best you can, just to cover up your faults a little bit, and just shade all of them in at once. So it's still, you're gonna still get the same effect, and it will save you a little bit of time. So go and shade all of those in at once. I like to shade in very dark, and sometimes it's good to go and just outline every single thing all at once and then color it in. So let me go and do that really quick. Alright, so I've gone and I have outlined each little square that I dotted in before. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to shade in each one of those squares, and then we are going to have a definitive outline to our drawing. Now that our outline is well shaded in, what I typically do is I then kind of go section by section based on color. So you can see here, you know, his hair is obviously all similarly colored, so you would do a section for the hair, and then say his pants are all similarly colored, so you do the section for his pants and his sleeves, and then the tunic. So the idea of this is to minimize the amount that you have to switch colors around. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go, say, bottom up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna find the darkest gray, so this is slate. So let's color with this and see how that looks. It's always good to have a separate sheet of paper here like this, where you can test your colors out to see how they look. Something that you kind of have to pay attention to. Obviously, when you have multiple shades of a color like gray, it can be rather difficult to shade that in or find a color that matches identically to what you're trying to find. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to color in these dark patches that we see here. So about here and then here. So those are really the only two dark gray spots that I see, so we're gonna go with those first. So we're gonna use, again, we're gonna use this dot method that I mentioned earlier. You know, another reason why this dot method works well, in my opinion, is it kind of gives you a little bit of leeway for error. If you accidentally color in a square wrong, it's not that big of a deal because you can always go and color over it with another color, and generally it will mask it relatively well. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go and we're gonna color in the rest of this, this dark gray here, and then we're gonna go over with our black and shade it in a little bit darker so that we can match the color just a tad bit better. So, the goal here when you are going in over with the black is you want to try to be really, really light and even with your strokes. Because if you go in too hard, then it's going to, obviously, the black is darker than the gray and it will show black over the gray. and then you will have the same color as your border and it won't look the proper way. So you want to try to go in, and this is when you want to try to use a blunt side of the pencil instead of a sharper point, because if you go in with a sharper point, it's going to make it harder to blend it and go lightly and evenly. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go and focus on the bottom here with the shoes. So now that we have the dark gray out, we're going to go and do this very, very dark brown right here. I'm going to guess this is probably the darkest brown that I have, this dark brown colored pencil. So yeah, that is a very, very dark brown right there. So we're going to go and use our dot method, and we're going to circle in the spaces that we want to fill. Okay, so it looks like we have the pieces. You probably can't see it, but it looks like we have the squares that we want to put in with our very dark brown. So we're going to go and color those in. Alright, that dark brown is out of the way. I think there's a couple more spots maybe in the eyes that we might have to go and touch up with it later. For the most part, we can move on to our next shade of, say, gray here. There are two more different shades of gray, so we're gonna go back in with this gray, and we're going to shade in these lighter portions of the gray that we have here. As you can kind of see so far, we're kind of going with the trend of darker to lighter colors, and why that helps is it gives you a kind of border around everything. So when you go in to do something like your blue, but you already have all of your browns and grays surrounding it, when it makes it a lot easier to color in that blue in case you do make a mistake, and it's a lot easier to cover up that way, or the mistake won't even show because it's surrounded by much darker colors, as in if you go out of your box by a significant amount, then it should be covered up by the darker colors around it. So next we're going to go and finish up this little last patch of gray that we have here. Okay, so now that we've filled that in, we can now actually move on to some of our lighter browns. Another thing that you should keep track of is what colored pencils you actually have used. So right here I have a pile below the rest of them. I can slide these up just a little bit so you can see it. Keep a pile of colors that you have actually used, so that way if you have to go back and do some touch-ups later, you don't have to search for quite as long to find the color that you need. And it's also good to kind of maybe keep them in color order of darker to lighter, or in the order of the rainbow. Now that we have this brown colored pencil, we can go in and do some of our middle ranged brown colors, as in here, here, and even up into here. So it doesn't even really seem like we're going to need much of this lighter brown color compared to this more middle ranged brown. So we're going to go in and fill those. Alright guys, so as we can see, Link is finally starting to come together here in the bottom portion. This is going to conclude us for part 1. I hope you guys enjoyed, and part 2 will be coming very, very shortly. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you have not. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all soon.